Hello and welcome to Method CRM User Tutorials. My name is Errol, and in this video series we are looking at app customization. In this tutorial we are going to take a closer look at the Properties panel in Design View. So far I've covered some of the basic things you need to understand when customizing your own app. I shall go into our activity type app and customize it. Go gadget customize. On the right we have the Properties panel. This contains all the tools you need to customize your app screen. Let's take a look at the tab with the page icon on it. This is the Screen Properties tab. This allows you to customize the actual screen. Under Settings, you can change the name and also leave yourself an internal note that only people who customize the screen will see. The default control focus, in the simplest explanation, is the control that the cursor will be on when the screen loads up. For example, maybe the cursor will start on a field where you need to input some text. The table is the base table you chose when you created the screen. Screens within the same app can have different tables, but once you set that base table, you won't be able to change it from here. The next section we have is Security. This password protects the page, so only those with the password can customize it. The Actions section is where you can program actions for this screen. I haven't covered actions yet, so don't worry if you don't know what this is for. We'll have a video for it later on. And finally, we have a section for versions. And you know what's cool? You can select which version you want to work on. Right now, I'm working on version 4. You can tell because it's underlined. But if I wanted to, I could click version 2. And now I'm working on version 2. How awesome is that? Let's change it back to version 4. All good? I hope you're fine with the screen properties because now we're going to the Insert Controls tab. That's the one with the plus. And here are all the controls that you can add to your app screen. The controls are divided into 3 sections. The first type of controls you have are containers. Containers will hold controls in them, and they are great for segmenting your app screen. You can never have a control outside of a container, unless it's a container. Anyway, the second type of controls are objects. These are elements that allow you to view or interact with the app itself. For example, buttons, checkboxes, drop-down menus, grids, all sorts of them. And finally, we have the Fields control. These are all the fields that are in your base table for this screen. If I was creating an edit page or an add new record page, I would use these field controls. These are the controls that allow a user to input information. For example, let me drag in description, and I'll remove the grid for now. And when I preview it, look, it made a text box where I can type in a description. This is a description. And if I wanted to, I could make a save button that would allow me to make changes to the table. And if I go back, I can see all the other fields that I can make changes to. Note that each one has an icon. That indicates the field type. We haven't talked about that, but a short description is that each field can be set to accept different types of data. See this field here, the type of data it expects is text, just like the description field. The ones with the number icon, that means these field only accepts numbers. This is active field is a yes/no type. Let me drag that in. And there are a number of fields that have the drop-down type. I'm going to add one of those in too. And now when I preview it, look, the is active field is a checkbox. It can only have 2 values, yes or no, on and off, whatever. The active entry type is a drop-down. It doesn't work in preview because data needs to be loaded in. However, if I were to save this and then close, there we go. Nice drop-down box. Let me go back into customizing this page. Now, there are a number of field types. I could go into all of them, but I won't, so please check the documentation and it will explain all sorts of things. It's awesome. Now, every control can be edited. You may have noticed that when I selected a control, the little tab up here, it changes to the pencil tab. I selected the is active control. I can change all sorts of things about it. I can change the display. I'll change it to toggle because I like toggles. Toggle, toggle, toggle. I can change the caption so it says active as opposed to is active. And there are so many other options that I could play with. Now, different controls will have different ways of being configured. For example, watch when I go to the description control. Look, it's different. It wants a default value and a whole whack of other stuff. And when I go to the drop-down control, it's a bit different too. It wants a base table. Each control may have different configuration parameters. However, for all the controls, there are at least 3 categories of properties that you can change. Every control should have a settings with options specific to its type. They will have a whole section on style that covers things like color, size, other style stuff. And then there will be a section on actions and events, which will be covered in the next video. Now there may be more but everyone has at least these three: settings, style, and actions and events. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for you, I can't go through every setting that every control has. The video is long enough as it is, and I would fall asleep while doing it. So please refer to the documentation if you need that reference. Thanks, Alex. But we're done! That's an overview of the Properties panel. In the next video, we're gonna talk about actions and events. Haha! If you have any questions, leave a comment on YouTube. Check our documentation post on our forums, or you can tweet us at Method CRM. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye!